in a way, it makes me proud that I get to be the voice for people that can't. And the more I do this project, the more I realize that I'm a voice for a lot of people that don't have one anymore.
I am ready now to share my journey of the process of finding the way back to my spirit. The ups, the downs, and everything in between. I've recently learned that story and the power of stories is a cornerstone of Aboriginal culture. I want to learn and relay my discoveries in hopes that something can be learned from my story. Sharing our stories connects us. Stories provide a better way to understand each other. I feel like I have a huge advantage. I feel very fortunate to be in a position in my life that I can share these stories. I often feel lucky that I didn't end up facing a life of struggle, but it also makes me feel extremely guilty too. Guilt is just one of the many emotions that I feel during this process. I also often feel angry, sad, frustrated, confused. There definitely are some dark chapters in all of this, and I wanted my mom to share her stories on the good memories that she has from childhood.
Where were you born?
I was born in Edmonton, Alberta, July 26, 1961, at University Hospital.
And who do you call mom?
My foster mom, who got me straight from the hospital. So I was born July 26th. I was in their home by August 7th, I believe. And I'm so fortunate in that, although I was placed into a white Catholic family, I also stayed with the same mom. I mean, my mother is now 86. We talk just about every day, and it always ends with, I love you. And so I believe she gave me a really grounded foundation for my life to be able to provide for all of my children. We used to live in a little fishing village called Ladner, and to this day I still love it to go visit. But I remember the summers, mostly the summers, and climbing the trees in the orchard, picking fresh fruit, shelling peas out on the front lawn because the cannery was behind us, and the dump truck that would haul them would hit that ginormous pothole in front of our house, and we'd be waiting with our gunny sacks to just run out there and collect them all. And these are things that my mom always did with us, and she always was there for us, entertaining us, sewing clothes for us, making sure we ate well. So just happy childhood memories.
I knew life wasn't always sunshine and rainbows for my mom. Her family was definitely faced with struggles, much like everybody's family.
So when I speak of my dad, it's my foster father who, of course, was there at the beginning when I was brought into the home. And he's since passed on. I won't get into it much, but my foster father, it turned out, had mental issues, paranoid schizophrenia to be exact. And so we had to endure that now and again. But my mom, I think she tried all the harder to make our lives normal. And pretty much it was. I lived a good little childhood there.
It wasn't until making this documentary that I realized I had never actually asked my mom if she knew if she was a foster child or not.
All I knew was that when I looked in the mirror, I looked different. And questioning my dad one time, and I said, "Dad, how come I'm darker than you and Mom?" And, he goes, "Oh, well, I have the answer to that." He said, "They left you in the oven too long." And I went, "What?" And so I don't remember ever having a serious conversation with him. That was never a discussion, ever.
Right. So it wasn't like a secret, if you will.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
The only time I started to question things is when I was just finishing up high school. It was at that time that somebody said, you can request your file through social services and look at your life history, because they hit everything on record, from dental visits to, got my tonsils out when I was 11, all that kind of thing. It's only recently, and I got this thing like 40 plus years ago, that I truly read through it all. Because back then it's like, there's too much to read. I can't do this. No. And it wasn't until your documentary that I actually rifled through it and went, okay. So yeah, but it wasn't until after high school that I had sort of reached out to do that.
I also asked my mom if she'd ever felt sad for the realization that she was a foster child.
It never crossed my mind. No. Never. No.
I guess that's a good thing.
Grandma did her best to always make sure we were well provided for, that we were loved, that we were, well clothed. She took great pride in that.
From what I could gather in the paperwork, it sounded almost like there was a divide with the children in the family, that my mom and her brother were the foster children and my grandma's biological children were the Gouget children. I asked if she ever felt like there was a divide.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know they referred to us like that. I do know that when my mom finally was able to become pregnant, after years and years of trying, that I was so excited. The thought of having a baby in the house, and oh my God, I wanted a sister so bad because I already had 3 brothers. When Grandma had my sister, of course, it was just like, woo! Like she was born in June and I turned 10 in July. And I was just so filled with joy that I had a baby sister. And even though she wasn't blood, I mean, I never looked at her any different, and she never looked at me different either.
I always knew that my mom never really pursued searching for her parents on her own. I was curious to know why, though.
Just going back to the papers that I received from social services when I requested them when I was 19. One of the first things I went to were the names of my parents. And when it came to my birth father, I believe it said something to the effect, the putative father was aware of the mother's condition and wanted nothing to do with that. So in my mind, first of all, my mother surrendered me willingly, and also that my birth father wanted nothing to do with me. So I thought, I don't need to find my parents. I have parents, and I'm quite happy with them.
And I know you're probably wondering, how did my mom end up finding her birth father? I'll let her explain how that story went down.
Imagine my surprise and shock. I listened to my message, and there was this woman saying, "Oh, hi, I'm looking for Michelle. I think this is you. I'm not sure, but someone's trying to find you. Can you please call me?" Who's looking for me? What? I don't understand this. So I got settled down and phoned the number that she had left, and I said, "Oh, hey, this is Michelle. Who am I speaking with?" And she said her name, and then she started to ask me questions. "Were you born in Edmonton?" "Yes." She asked like the year and so forth, and big pause. Hello. And she gets back on, and she was just like, "Oh my God, I found you." I said, "Who's looking for me?" And she said, "Your father." I couldn't believe it. It was surreal. So she said, I'm going to get him. I'll bring him here and then you can talk with him. And I went, you want me to talk to him? Oh, no, no. She goes, you don't want to talk to your father? Well, yeah, I do. But oh my God. She says, okay, I'll call you back in 15 minutes. 45 minutes later, she finally called back. In the meantime, my first thought was, blah, what am I going to do? I got to phone my mom. I called her. Mom, you'll never guess what happened. And she could tell I was like all excited and scared. And I said, my birth father, he's been looking for me and they found me. She said, what? Because she read my papers as well. And so she thought, oh, you know, that's not going to happen ever. So I said, I'm so nervous. I'm so scared. And they want me to talk to him. And I don't know if I want to talk to him. Like, oh my God. And you could hear the apprehension in her voice, like, oh, well, that's good. Yeah, you should talk to him. I didn't know, and it wasn't until like the next day or even later that day that my stepdad had called me and said, you know, your mom's really scared about this. I'm like, why? She's afraid that your dad and the rest of that side of your family are going to take you away from her. Yeah, finally I got on the phone and I realized I was holding my breath. And he came on the phone and he said, hello. I said, hi. He goes, I've been looking for you for a long time. And that was all it took. And I lost it. I started sobbing. And then I felt like, is this an episode of Oprah? And that's exactly. Surprise! So that's exactly how I felt. And we chatted about 15, 20 minutes. It wasn't long, but long enough for me to know that every time he went to Edmonton, anytime basically he went anywhere, because he tried so hard to find me. From the time he knew I'd been born, he just was looking. At one point had run into my birth mother. I think it was in Edmonton. She was an alcoholic, and he said she was so inebriated that he couldn't even understand her, and all he kept saying was, where's the baby? What did you do with the baby? Where's my child? Nothing. So of course by this time we had moved away from Edmonton, so he had no hope of finding me. He didn't know my foster family's name, but he wanted to find me. And so with the help of his niece, my cousin, Jessie Ann, they had heard rumors of a Stewart baby girl who had lived in Edmonton, or was born in Edmonton, moved to Vanderhoof, and then into Prince George. And then because I wasn't listed, there was no number. And then when I took the listing to be public and not private, she found me 2 days later. And the rest is history. I mean,
this was the first photo that my mom had ever seen of her father. It was sent via email by her cousin after that first phone call. We printed it, laminated it, and my mom hung it up on our wall in the living room. And then that following winter, arrangements were made and we actually got to fly to Fort Chipewyan to meet the Voyager side of the family for the first time.
It was so surreal for me to walk into a room and go, hey, I look like you. That had never happened before. I mean, except with my half brother. It was just so welcoming, and it was an amazing experience. And now I know what it feels like to be on Oprah during a reunion show. It was lovely.
Yeah. Now, I was even more impressed that my mom's biological father, Charlie, was able to find her, considering throughout this process, my mom and I discovered that her birth wasn't even registered and she was never even given a legal name. So this is the paperwork that talks about my mom not having ever been registered with a birth name. So from my understanding, when she was born and they were documenting the birth and all that, they had only given her the name baby girl Stewart. There was no name attached to it. So Michelle Sylvia was the name given to her by her foster mom, Sylvia. My mom was actually aware of the fact that she didn't have a legal registered name until she was 18. She found out when she went to go apply for a social insurance number. Here's what she remembers from that.
Oh, this was fun. So I decided after high school that I wanted to get a social insurance number and go find a job, and I knew that I needed one in order to do so. So I applied. Weeks went by. I thought, what is wrong? Like, how come I filled out all the paperwork correctly? So when I contacted them, or I think I actually went into the office in Vanderhoof, they're like, oh yeah, there's some notes on your file and we don't know what to do with them. I'm like, well, what's wrong? Why? They said, well, this is weird, but it's because you're not registered anywhere. Your birth was not registered.
And this is the documentation to corroborate that. So I'm just going to read through some of this. So this letter dated August 28th, 1979. It's from the Field Service Manager, Protection Services, Social Services, and Community Health, blah, 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 blah. We have been advised by the Division of Vital Statistics, Alberta, that Michelle's birth was registered without any Christian names. When her birth registration has been amended to include her Christian names, and I hate that they say Christian names. I hate... Okay. Why can't I just call it a name? Anyways.
What do you mean? They said, well, the only name we have for you is Baby Girl. Baby Girl Stewart. That's who I was for 18 plus years.
If your dad was ever looking for you,
he would never have found me.
Yeah.
Nope. No, I mean, there were so many things that would deter anyone, oh, they moved out of province. Oh, she's not registered at birth. And, on and on and on. But he pursued it, and he was so diligent that he had to find me. And so when he did, it was an amazing experience.
So this is from the Alberta Social Services change of Christian name under the powers conferred on the Director of Section 8 of the Vital Statistics Act. I hereby change the Christian name which appears on record from Baby Stewart. Okay, they didn't even have girl. For some reason, I thought that Baby Girl Stewart was her name. They just have Baby Stewart. That's like even less information. So from Baby Stewart to Michelle Sylvia Stewart, given under my hand in Edmonton, Alberta, this 4th day of October, 1979. So my mom, literally, her name up for 18 years was Baby Stewart. How can you have a stack of paperwork this big on a person and not have their, like, it's like, this was all here and like, it's like fluff because they didn't actually have it attached to an actual person whose birth they had on record. It's so frustrating that, like, it, again, could have been a mistake, Do I think that this is an accident? I don't know. I really don't know. And it just really makes me question, like, if this is my mom's situation, how many others are out there that aren't even connecting the dots because they can't, because there isn't anything to connect. Okay, I'm just reading this here. This one says, I'm returning this form with the complete information on birth date and place and on the requested name. Michelle Stewart was surrendered at birth by her natural mother, June Stewart, and consequently placed as a foster child with Mr. and Mrs. Raymond Gouget on August 7th, 1961. There is no indication on file of the whereabouts or situation of the natural mother. Therefore, the required signature on this form should be that of the hand of Michael Thomas, Deputy Superintendent of Family and Child Services. I'm confident that this matter will be promptly attended to. Okay, so they're like requesting this guy, the superintendent, sign the birth certificate, basically. Because they didn't even get her natural mother to sign a birth certificate when she had her. And there's no indication on file of the whereabouts, the situation of the natural mother. Like, they didn't even keep track of any of this. It's so frustrating. My mom was able to register her name and get her birth certificate and move on with her life. I admire my mom so much for not letting that detail get to her. She even took it a step further and decided to change her name entirely. Well, sort of.
So 2006, I changed my name from my married name to Voyager, which is my father's. And I thought, you know, this would have been my name from birth anyway, so I'm just kind of taking it back. And I have been Michelle Voyager since 2006. Not really knowing who I was, where I came from, who I came from, to now knowing that I wasn't just Métis, I was Chippewan Cree, knowing that I was 3/4 Indigenous, knowing that I could gain my status, knowing that there was a family of hundreds, literally hundreds, cousins, aunts and uncles, and that I belonged there. But it never interfered with the family that raised me. I kind of kept them separate, and then when my dad came to meet the rest of my family, by that time he had a great grandson, and he was just over the moon with that. So I think when my grandson was probably 2 is when he came to visit. So around 2006, 2007, my parents, when they met him, it was so surreal. And my mom, I think it looked like she was going to cry, but I was like, oh, hey mom, here's my dad. This is Charlie Voyager. And then my mom, oh, Charlie, and my mom's a hugger. She gave him a hug. And I think my foster father was kind of leery of him. And I mean, it never diminished any of my feelings for my family that raised me to my family that birthed me. There was never any, oh, okay, now I'm going to go hang out with these guys and you guys could just stay over there. It was never like that. And I wanted the transition of being Michelle Jones or Michelle Stewart to Michelle Voyager. I wanted that to be smooth sailing. And I think between my mom and me, we sort of fed off each other and just went with it, you know. It was such a cool comment that my mom said to my dad when he called me on Christmas Day, probably 2008 or something, 2007. And we were at Grandma's house, exactly, for Christmas. And the phone rings. I said, oh yeah, my dad's going to call me. And so my mom went to answer the phone. And I could hear, oh, hey, Merry Christmas, how's it going? And then she said, okay, well, I suppose you want to speak to our daughter. And then I heard that. I thought, oh, that's weird. Why would she say that? It's like, well, I am their daughter. I'm his daughter. He wanted to find me. He found me. This is my mom. She raised me from birth and gave me nothing but love. Yes, I am their daughter. And that was such a good feeling. And then I felt like my mom, by that point, knew that his finding me and that family being there for me, and that it would not diminish the relationship that I had with Grandma, and that she was not worried anymore. And that just made my whole day. It was wonderful.
Yeah. I could go on forever about the inconsistencies that I kept finding in the paperwork, so I'll leave it at this. And then when they registered her birth certificate, the only information they had was her mother's name. So on my mom's birth certificate, they have mother June, father unknown. So on her birth certificate, this caused a lot of problems for my mom down the road when she went to go obtain her rights as a status Indian, and they denied her because she didn't have any information on her birth father. And she only could go off of information that was on her birth certificate, which was her mother. And her mother was actually non-status because she lost it due to marrying a non-status individual. So Bill C-31 actually impacts my family as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that.
In 1985, Parliament responded to the appeals of Indigenous people by changing discriminatory sections of the Indian Act, known as Bill C-31. This amendment reinstated Indian status to women who had lost it through marriage to men without status. Among other changes, the bill also enabled all first-generation children of these marriages and individuals who had been enfranchised to regain their legal status. More than 114,000 people gained or regained their Indian status as a result of Bill C-31.